Really interesting fight at women's strawweight between Amanda Lemos and Mizuki Inoue. Matt, I know a lot of people know the name of Mizuki Inoue. She fought for the Invicta FC belt against Verna Jandiroba, and it didn't go her way. It was a good fight, but either way, didn't go her way. She's got a shoot-the-box background. She also has a karate background as well, and she's fought some of the biggest names in women's MMA in total. I mean, if I look up and down her record, really early loss to Ayaka Hamasaki, one of the greats in 2011. She's got a win over Alex Chambers that you recognize, Beck Rawlings. She fought Kovalkiewicz, Alexa Grasso, Hamasaki in a grappling bout at Deep. She's got the shoot-the-box fights, loses a split to Jandiroba. And then so far in the UFC, I mean, you look at the win over Wu Yannan, but again, back to Invicta, a win over Viviane Pejea that people recognize. So Mizuki Inoue has kind of been there and done that, and we'll get a little bit further into her overall body of work and her career as we move forward. Amanda Lemos came into the UFC at bantamweight, fought Leslie Smith, and listen to me. I know Leslie Smith isn't in the UFC anymore. It's tough to have a good fight against Leslie Smith. It really is, and if you look at her striking numbers and you want to take anything away from her two UFC fights, they're going to be in the negative because that fight against Leslie Smith didn't go her way, took a lot of time off between the Smith fight, and then she comes back out and wins her last one against Miranda Granger, gets the finish win there. Really surprising to see a fighter go from bantamweight to strawweight and picking up a big win like that. Only 6 or 7 months ago, it was 3 years ago, the Leslie Smith lost by knockout. So an interesting one there. How do you see this one going? Because you've got such a big name in Mizuki Inoue taking on, and I wouldn't say an unknown commodity in Amanda Lemos, but how much can you take away from a win over Miranda Granger, the former CFFC champ?
You really can't take a lot of credit from it, and that's the problem. Because with Lemos, when you're off those 3 years, you really want to see this exponential gain. Because again, with Sean O'Malley, and just full transparency, I forgot words there for a second. UFC 251 is on to my left right now, and we did just witness Sean O'Malley lose. But when Sean O'Malley did have his suspension, did take all that time off, and finally did come back against Quiones, he did look like a guy who had taken all that time off, but he didn't just sit around on the couch. Like, he was actually making active improvements in his game. And that's something that Lemos, it didn't really look... Now, again, she had won the fight, but you couldn't really tell, oh, wait, this is a completely transformed athlete from the last time that we've seen them. And not everyone's George St. Pierre. Not everyone's a Sean O'Malley type. Not everyone's going to be able to do that. But we didn't really see, or at least I didn't see the improvements that I really hoped for after that fight. Because I remember watching that a long time ago when she fought Leslie Smith. And I'm a big Leslie Smith fan. Really happy she's over in Bellator. But it was one of those fights where you could just tell very easily Lemos was very overmatched. Leslie Smith just a lot for her to deal with. And then she didn't show anything in her last fight that really showed to me, oh, those holes in her previous game have really been shortened up. Now, again, Leslie Smith is hard to look good against, like you had said. Mizuki Inoue, we talk a lot about people's records before they come into the UFC, and we'll see a lot of, 1-3, 0-0s, 1-0. Sometimes it's better to lose to a known commodity in MMA than just beat a bunch of people who have a negative record. And Inoue is a great example of that. And here, you could probably break them through a lot better than I can.
If you look at Mizuki Inoue, like I kind of talked about it, karate background, shoot the box background, so you're probably going to form an idea in your mind, if you're not familiar with her, that her stand-up is just absolutely amazing. And she's fought all these great names in the regional scene. Out of her 14 wins, 9 of them coming by submission. So she's definitely a threat on the ground. And it's one of those ones where she's so well-rounded and maybe buying into the hype a little bit. But at 26 years old and in the strawweight division, which we know is so stacked with competition, and her first fight against Wu Yannan at flyweight, so she's moving down to strawweight once again. I think this fight's one of those ones that's you kind of get a better idea of what you get out of Amanda Lemos if she gets a win, and there's definitely a path there for her. Okay. But with Mizuki Inoue, it's kind of one of those ones where you get a win over Amanda Lemos, and all of a sudden you're in a wolf's den, so to speak, in this division.
I agree. It's one of those fights, and it's never a great example, but when Roosevelt Roberts had beat Brock Weaver, I thought, or when he was going to fight Jim Miller after that, I really wanted him to lose to Jim Miller, not because I have anything against him, but when you beat a guy like Jim Miller for the most part, it really only sets you up for difficult fights moving forward. There's never just going to be, not that there's any easy ones in the UFC, but you get the idea. Some fights are easier than others, but when you fight a guy like Jim Miller, it just keep on going to be big name after big name after big name after that point. And he lost that fight, so now he can kind of go back to fighting kind of those people on that prospect level, and it was a great thing for him. with Mizuki Inoue, she's going to win this fight, though. I don't really see this being this massive crossroads for her. I think she has more than enough tools to get done against Amanda Lemos.
And I like the odds. Inoue coming in roughly over on best fight odds at a minus 165. You got Amanda Lemos at a plus 137. If you look over on Tapology, out of 300 votes, limited sample size, 81% going with Inoue, into the 90%. Picking her to win by decision. So I'm going to go with Mizuki Inoue. I don't think she's going to get submitted. Therefore, I know MMA math means nothing, but I think she's going to be able to get it done by decision. It has nothing to do with those Tapology votes. You can just throw my piece of paper away into the background. But I'm really looking forward to this fight. It should be a good one. Women's strawweight. Who are you going with here?
I'm going with Mizuki Inoue. She's the way more well-rounded of the two martial artists.
Really looking forward to it. Both going with Mizuki Inoue. You're not going to want to miss the rest of our predictions for the card, including extended look and our main event between Pedro Munhoz and Frankie Edgar. Keep it locked in with Fight Night Picks, Matt. As we always say, let's get into it.